Hi, this is Keba Jeremiah.
Hi, I'm Keba Jeremiah. I'm a guitarist and a music producer.
One of India's most accomplished musicians who has taken his passion and worked hard to make it his profession. Noted for not just his accomplishments but also his heart. Keba's musical journey has taken him around the world to work with phenomenal artists and brilliant music composers.
A desire for every musician is to work with big composers. And along the journey, I got to work with some of the biggest names in the industry, Mr. A. Rahman. And initially working with him was just like, it's like, wow. I mean, there's so much to learn from him. He's always in the search for something better, for something new, for something somebody hasn't done, or for something that is just totally out of the box. And he also inspires me to do that. You know, when I see somebody like him who's achieved everything, who's had the Grammys, the Oscar, I think this whole journey is about taking baby steps, and you should never come to the point where you feel like I've achieved it. If you feel like you've achieved it, it's that moment that growth actually stops, you know, and which is why I feel like I'm grateful for every achievement that I've had, but I don't feel like I've arrived. And I don't think I'll ever arrive. And I'm grateful for that because that means I'm still learning. So when I initially started this journey, I started learning music when I was 7. And I wanted to pursue a career in music. But what happened is, as I was finishing my 12th, I really wanted to go to Berkeley. And Berkeley was one of the big names. So I told my parents, you know, Dad and Mom, I want to study music. And they said, no, you can't, you know. You have to do what everybody else does, which is either become an engineer or a doctor. And they were so particular that I had to finish engineering. And my dad just had this one rule, you know, finish engineering and then do whatever you want to do. I don't know if I took it up as a challenge back then when I started, but I could say like towards the third year of my engineering, I did take it up as a challenge because I was actually struggling to finish my engineering. So when I came in 2004, initially to Chennai, my brother was already serving at NLAG. It's a local church where we go here. And one of the first things that I got to do was play at that church. And right when I came, I initially had this feeling like I know what music is. I feel like I've learned everything. And it was only when I came to that church and started interacting with the musicians that I realized, wow, there's so much more to music. It's a whole new sea that I haven't explored. It was a bit of struggle to, in fact, get access to music or learning material. You know, back then there were CDs and videotapes, and we used to borrow, we used to copy stuff. And when everybody talks to me nowadays, they're like, I want to do what you do. And the funny thing is, they do have the tools right in front of them. The internet's there with everything but they don't want to go through the journey that actually takes them. So initially the journey for me was a lot of struggle. It was actually hard to find people who would actually teach you. And one of the things that I did a lot was play with the metronome, which a lot of musicians don't do these days. But I just sit at the metronome, just put the click in my ears and just keep playing, keep practicing. So much so that nowadays when I record, people say, you're beginning to sound like a machine. It's almost like, you know, we need a little bit of that human element in your playing. So, you know, so those are things that I've been constantly working on. So one of the things was always trying to be on time for any work I do. And the second thing was always trying to complete a job, you know, and even if it meant it was really hard and I really didn't, I couldn't like work on it right away, take some time off, you know, learn what needed to be done to finish the job and get that done. And what I realized along the way was, as I was doing this, I really didn't have to like really promote myself or put a demo CD out there. I've never made a demo CD my whole life. So I realized that people see the consistency in your work, and that's how calls started coming in. You know, people kept referring me from one person to the other, and that's how work started flowing in. It was pretty busy since then.
Keba didn't stop at making his own mark in the music industry, but is also a pioneer by paving the way for numerous musicians who followed closely in his footsteps.
A lot of people were afraid of just being musicians, you know, like being a musician wasn't recognized by society and by But I should say my parents, actually, they didn't think that being a musician was even in fact a job or a career option. So uh, I decided that there were some things that needed to be fixed uh, in the system so that, um, like a musician could be taken seriously. So I really wanted to take it upon myself and show people that actually I can do something and make something out of music. And I worked really hard at it. I really worked hard at it. I set practice times. I had principles. It initially started with even just payments and making sure I set right payments, and not negotiating on those terms. And there's a certain value to setting certain values to the work that you do. I mean, every job has a certain value. So everybody thinks music is free, but no, there's a lot of work, there's a lot of time, there's a lot of effort that goes into the whole process. So, I mean, there are instances where you can do music for free, but then there's a certain value to the work that you do. So even just setting those standards a little higher and raising the bar a little bit, I think we over the years there is a space that has been set for musicians and for future generations to take up this path where they can actually pursue music as a career. Nowadays, I have a lot of kids' parents who come up to me and they're like, "My son looks at you and he wants to be a musician. So what is the advice you would give him?" And a lot of young people don't want to hear about the journey, but it is the journey that gets you to where you are. So I keep talking to them about practice times, about principles, about consistency, about dedication, about hard work. And these are the things that people don't want to hear, but these are the things that actually you have to consider when you want to be a musician. For me, the mission is to leave a legacy where it's not about just getting, but also it's about giving, And I think with music, there's so much you can leave behind. It's not about just leaving music behind, but leaving values and leaving good principles and good ethics. And I think that's the mission for me also, to impact a younger generation where they set good standards and good values for themselves. And sometimes what happens is everybody sees the results, the end results, which is the fame, the money, and honestly, none of that. After you see all of it, and everybody feels like you've achieved it, but you really haven't, And it's a journey, You're still on that journey. I don't think all of that matters. I just want to share a small experience. So I still remember playing in church one afternoon, and one morning on Sunday, and I'm just playing in church, and the thought running through my head is, okay, so I'm playing all of this, and I just usually like do a gentle scan of the crowd, and then I'll be like, so is this making any difference to me? Is this making any difference to God? Those are the kind of questions I'm asking. And I finished service. It's a regular service, regular Sunday service. And a lady who I've never met before in my life just walks up to me and she says, today when you played, there was a certain sense of joy that I felt like something was lifted off of me. And that one experience changed just the whole reason why I did music, And I've realized that music can bring a lot of healing, it can bring a lot of joy into people's lives. It brings people together. I really don't know what I would have done if it were not for music. I mean, I was so close. It's so funny because I finished my engineering, I sat for placements, I got a job, and then I never attended the interview. And there was this certain sense of confidence that I had because I knew the joy and the purpose and how much music meant to me. And it's something that I loved doing ever since I was a kid, and I really wanted to pursue.